Ranj, this one's for you. It's Jane who says, my 5-month-old has started to hold its breath until he turns blue. Why does he do this, and why do some babies have these spells and others don't?
It's really scary, but it's something called breath-holding spells, and it's usually two main groups. They're either true breath-holding spells where toddlers scream and scream and scream and scream and scream, and they breathe out and then they hold their breath. They go pale, they might go blue, they might pass out, they might twitch a little bit while they're passed out, but then they regain consciousness and they're absolutely fine. They're completely harmless. Sounds so scary, but it's completely harmless. The other thing is reflex anoxic seizures, we call them. So usually they get a sudden fright, or they bash their head or something, and all of a sudden they'll scream and then they'll just stop breathing. And again, they might pass out, they might go funny colour, they recover and they're absolutely fine. Those two are relatively common and fortunately are not harmful at all. They're scary as anything. So if it's the first time it happens, it's really scary.
Yeah.
You need to worry. So if you've had a diagnosis of either of those, then actually when it happens, all you do is remain calm, lie your child down, make sure that they don't hurt themselves. When to see a doctor is if they're happening frequently, if they're lasting for long periods of time, if your child comes to afterwards and is really confused or really, really drowsy afterwards, if your child is under the age of 6 months, or if you've got any other concerns that they've got symptoms elsewhere. Because the other thing we need to think about is things like seizures, epilepsy-type seizures.
Because this baby's 5 months.
Exactly. So they're unusual in the under 6 months, but they're not impossible. So I would always say, if you're uncertain, ask your GP to refer you to a paediatrician.
What is an acceptable amount of time for a parent to be scared out of their wits by their child holding their breath?
Well, usually they will only last a couple of minutes.
Couple of minutes?
Yeah. So
no breathing for 2 minutes?
So they will breathe, but very shallow breathing often, or it's very, very slow breathing. But if you're really, really scared, by all means, that is one of the instances I would dial 999.
Yeah, better to be safe than sorry.
Better to be safe than sorry, especially if it's the first time that it's happened. Don't think, oh, it must just be one of those. I would speak to somebody.
But you don't want to bother a very, very stretched ambulance service if it's OK.
Exactly, but if you've had a diagnosis, if you've been checked and you've had a diagnosis, then you don't need to call an ambulance every single time. If you're worried, by all means, learn your basic life support, do a first aid course, and at least you've got that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good point. All right, thank you.